This first item is probably the biggest thing that gets overlooked when planning your kitchen, and it's the use of fillers. It is important that we plan to use fillers when we're designing our kitchen layout. They have a very specific and often overlooked purpose. Most cabinets these days are frameless. It's the trend for the last number of years, and it continues to be just the major trend in kitchen design. So frameless cabinets don't have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to installation. They install box to box, and there's no room there to spare. So you have to create a little bit of space if you need it, and you're gonna need it against a wall. I've had clients in the past bring me their plans that they designed at home, and it was just all cabinets with no space for fillers. And the reason that they do this, and the reason that I would do this, or that you might do this, is because we want to use up all the space. We're trying to maximize all the space in our kitchen. We want to get as much storage and functionality as possible. And while this is very important and what we should be doing and striving for when designing a kitchen, if we don't allow room for that cabinet to be installed in the space allotted, then we're gonna run into problems when we do get to that point of installing the kitchen. And things aren't gonna fit, or if they do fit, they're gonna have trouble opening or being functional. So we wanna limit this the best we can, and fillers are the best way to do this. And so if that cabinet is against a wall and you're pulling out a drawer or you're opening a door, if that wall isn't perfectly plumb or square and the cabinet is installed directly against it, you are going to run into problems. And we don't have to go overboard. Even an inch is enough space to allow us some extra breathing room when we're installing our kitchens. So fillers, highly important, probably the most important thing overlooked, and something you definitely need to consider when planning your kitchen project. The second big item that needs to be considered when planning and designing your own kitchen is clearances. This can often be overlooked when you're planning your own design because sometimes we're not aware of what they are, or we have misinformation on what clearances should be. So these are some of the most important things to look at as far as clearances go when planning your own kitchen. And clearances are important because not only can they hinder the functionality of our kitchen, but they also could make the space dangerous. And we want to make sure our kitchen is not only functional, but also safe. One of the clearances that is important to consider is the space between the top of your countertop and the underside of your wall cabinet. So there's a space there that should be a minimum of 18 inches. It can be more than that, but it should be no less than that. Sometimes you will install a light rail or some kind of molding, a light balance molding, to hide a fixture or anything that might be attached underneath the cabinet. And this is okay as long as it doesn't come down any more than 2 or 3 inches. Any more than that, it's starting to get in the way. This measurement of 18 inches is the agreed upon standard when it comes to the height of where your wall cabinet should be installed at. If you're installing a wall cabinet, from the finished floor to the bottom of that cabinet should be 54 inches. That will allow you to have the proper amount of space between the base cabinet and the wall cabinet. Another important clearance to think about is the distance from surface to surface. So this would be your walking area, where you're standing, where you're cooking, where you're doing the things in the kitchen that you need to do. In a one-person kitchen, the minimum that this should be is 36 inches. That's kind of the limit to what is acceptable for one person in the kitchen to move around, have access, not be too far away from anything or too close so that they're just too cramped. You want it to be enough space, but not too much space. But if you are planning a kitchen for 2 people, that should be extended to at least 42 inches and sometimes greater. If 2 people are moving around in that kitchen, there needs to be enough room for them to get by one another. If you're carrying something hot, or if you're prepping something, or just action in the kitchen needs to have room. And this comes into play especially with islands. So from the countertop to the island, you need to have enough clearance. One, if you have an appliance opening into that space, you need to be able to get around that appliance. And if 2 of you need to get around that appliance, it's important that you have room for that, because at 36 inches with an opening door of a dishwasher, let's say, that door is probably about 24 inches. That only gives you 12 inches of leftover space to scurry around and not trip over the dishwasher. There should also be proper clearances for seating on an island. You should have enough room for one person to sit beside another person, and they're not elbowing each other in the face while they're eating their cereal. You should have at least 24 inches. I'd say even try to go more than that, because I don't know about you, but I'm at least 24 inches wide myself. I don't want to be elbow to elbow with anybody, even if I love them and they're in my family. I don't want to be injuring them when I'm trying to eat a steak. And of course, it depends on the length of your island or the seating area that you have, that you'd have to determine that. But just keep that in mind as you're planning out an island space, especially if someone's going to be sitting at it, that you have enough elbow room so that we're not like this trying to eat our food. Forget it. These aren't legal requirements. They're just standards that industry-wide we've decided that these are the best things. They're not set in stone and you can maneuver around some of them. Just be sure that when you're doing your kitchen that you allow for clearances so that it's comfortable for you. Another common mistake that we make is by hinging doors the wrong way. And you can think, well, this is not really that big a deal, right? Just flip the door around so that it's hinged properly. But if you drill that door and put a handle on it, and then you realize that you've hinged it the wrong way, now you have a problem. You can't flip that door around normally because you have holes in it where there's not supposed to be holes. So now you have to buy a new door. So it's important that we make sure the doors are hinged to open the way we want them to open. Now this comes into play especially with a corner cabinet. If you do have a corner cabinet and that corner cabinet is beside an appliance, that door needs to hinge away from that appliance. And this is why we never put a dishwasher and a range kitty-cornered next to one another in a corner, because that appliance door has to open one way or the other, and it should always open away from an appliance. The reason this is important is because appliances come out further than base cabinets, and so there is not enough clearance for that door to open properly. So if it opens against the appliance, you're gonna run into trouble. You won't be able to get the full access of that cabinet. And for other cabinets, it's just important that you think about the way you want doors to open. I would say there's no right and wrong way. You have to work in your kitchen. You have to find it to be workable for you. So picture your space and how doors are opening. Is this gonna work? If you're at your range and your wall cabinet opens the wrong way, is that going to work for you? I mean, obviously not. So think about those things. Sometimes we think they're fairly obvious, but we run into this mistake a lot. There you are. Oh man. Appliances are one of the other commonly overlooked issues when you are planning your new kitchen. We often just don't consider measuring it, or we think that they're just all standard. Appliances are definitely not all standard, especially when it comes to refrigerators. Refrigerators come in all different sizes from height to width to depth, and it's important to know which one you have, especially if you're planning on purchasing a new refrigerator. It's really a bad situation, I know personally, when a refrigerator shows up at a client's house and it does not fit the space that I've allowed for it. It's embarrassing. It's happened a few times, unfortunately, but that's why I'm here telling you, measure your refrigerator so that that opening is correct. Other appliances like the range and the dishwasher are pretty standard across the board. Ovens and double ovens or microwave ovens that insert into, say, a pantry unit, those need to be measured as well because they come in different sizes too, especially if you're using a trim kit on that appliance. You could have measured the appliance and have the opening correct, but you forgot about the trim kit. And when you put that trim kit on, it's too big for the opening or interferes with another cabinet, door, or drawer. And this is not a good scene. So measure and remeasure your appliances so that they fit into your new beautiful kitchen. If you need help designing a kitchen project, I have an online service that might be right for you. Check the link in the description below for all the details. There are many perks to planning, purchasing, and installing your own kitchen project. The sense of great accomplishment, plus the fact that you will probably save money. I hope this video helps you to not make the same mistakes I made in the past, sometimes over and over again, in designing and installing kitchens. I hope you like this video. Please give it a thumbs up. If you did, I certainly would appreciate it. There are so many great videos on YouTube, but I found two that really stand out. This video is about saving $1,000 a year just by implementing some storage solutions. And this video is about the latest design trends that I think are gonna be what we see into 2022 and beyond. So check those videos out if you wanna see two really great videos. And if you're still watching this, you're a superstar. Thank you so much. Until next time.